Hey, it's Grady at Twin Creek Audio, and today I have a really cool vintage mixer to show you. It's the Tascam M-35. The Tascam M-35 is a really cool vintage mixer from around 1982. It has transformer balanced mic inputs on all 8 of the input channels. It has 8 tape returns. It has a 2-band semi-parametric EQ per channel. You can bring the tape returns over to the main channels using the switches at the top of the main channel, switching those to tape. It's also similar to something like my Fostex 450 that I've made a lot of videos about, or the Yamaha RM804. So it's a very cool vintage mixer. It's built like a tank. It's fully modular. It's basically made for an 8-track analog studio, but of course you can use it as a front end for your DAW or for summing tracks through. So here's the Tascam M-35. This is an 8-channel recording mixer. This was made in roughly 1982. Really nice build quality, very heavy. I'm going to turn out the lights, or at least the ones right above here, so I can turn it on. We can see the lovely VU meters light up. That is really nice. That looks so cool. Such a nice mixer, really heavy duty. They made an extender for this too, the 35EX, so you can add another frame like this and add additional channels to this mixer. So these are the main channel strips. There are 8 of them. At the top you've got a mic attenuation switch, so 0 is no attenuation, and then you've got 20 and 40, which will decrease the level of that mic input. And then of course you've got the mic trim control. You've got an input switch for the channel, mic, tape, or line. So this is going to have a tape input and a line input on the back, as well as the XLR mic input. There's no phantom power here. I'll probably get an external unit and try the preamps on this with some condenser mics anyway. Then you've got Q send and an effects send right here. You've got 2-band parametric EQ. These have switches that select the center frequency, and then the bottom collar here selects the frequency, and then you have cut or boost here. There are 2 selectable frequency centers, and then you fine-tune the frequency with the bottom collar. So in this case from 1.6K to 5K on this collar, with cut or boost here on the top. And then over here you have from 5 to 15K, variable here with the bottom collar, and cut or boost on the top. The other EQ band from 60 to 300 here, or from 300 to 1.6K. Again, once you've selected kind of the center of the frequencies here, you vary the frequency with the bottom collar and cut or boost with the top. And you've got assign switches here as well as a solo switch. So that's just a solo, it's a momentary switch for solo. Then you've got the assign switches for the 4 subgroups over here, and a direct switch. An interesting feature on this console is this direct switch. The direct outputs on each of these 8 channels do not function unless you press the direct switch. So you can, in effect, turn the direct output on and off right here. These 4 subgroup switches here on each channel, these also work slightly different than a lot of consoles. If you select subgroup 1, the pan control is disabled, and whatever's on this channel goes to subgroup 1. If you select 2 subgroups, then the pan control becomes active to pan between the 2 subgroups. And of course your pan control that I just talked about, and the 60mm fader. This console is more of a split design, so your tape returns are actually over here, 1 through 8. So you have gain for each tape return channel and pan for each tape return channel. These also have switches to turn off these tape returns or to send those to the bus. You've also got Q sends for the tape returns, of course, like on the main channel, so you can build, say, a tape return mix and a mix of the live musician on this channel and send those to the headphones. Down here we have the effects return levels, and you got a button to choose whether the effects return goes to the monitor or to the program bus itself. This is the master channel. Up at the top you've got headphones. You can select the source of the headphones, either control room or studio or off. Studio, output. This is to send to a headphone amp or out to a pair of speakers in the studio. You've got a selection of mix, Q, or AUX on the studio. And of course, if you remember, you can send studio to the headphones with this switch up here. Then you have your control room knob, which this is not an original knob. It's just one I put on there. And you can select the source for the control room output here, either mix, Q, or AUX. Then you've got your master solo level and your master fader. These 4 VU meters always show the level of the 4 subgroups. This meter has a switch to select Q, off, or effects. So this has a pretty good complement of inputs and outputs on it. On your main channels 1 through 8, you've got an access, send and receive, which is what we'd call an insert nowadays. And this one has its original jumper plugs. On consoles like this one that you find from the late 70s, 80s, if they have this access, send and receive and there's no RCA jumpers, it's not going to work. This channel is going to seem like it doesn't work without this jumper. So you need these on consoles like this one, the Fostex 450 I've shown in other videos, as well as the Yamaha RM804. A lot of these small 8-track studio consoles from back then that have this access, they need these RCA jumpers. I made some out of some solid copper wire for my Fostex 450 because they were all missing. So you need those. So you've got an access, send and receive, then you've got a direct output, a line input, and then the XLR mic input jack. And again, this little console does not have phantom power. So those are your main channels 1 through 8. Over here you've got subgroups 1 through 4. Each subgroup has a bus in, so you can connect external things into that bus. It's got an effects receive, which got that level control that was on the front, and tape inputs. 2 tape inputs. In this case it's 1 and 5. Then you've got a level control, high and low. I am not exactly sure what the levels on this are. I'll look in the manual and put that on the screen though. AUX out and line out. So this expander input section is next, and this is for linking one of the expander cards that they made for these with this one. And it has a Q input, effects input, a Q out, and an effects send out. You've also got an effects receive switch, either normal or bus 1, and AUX in left and right. Then over here you have the studio feed, the control room feed, studio feed on a 1/4 inch jack, talkback, and then expander solo jack. So a lot of RCA connectors on this console, but it's a very well made console, and Tascam, if you read the manual to this, they go on to say that unbalanced signals aren't all that bad and it won't really affect the audio quality, and almost like they think balanced line connections are kind of silly on consoles like this. So that's an interesting read. If you have one of these, I definitely recommend checking out the manual. The way the M35 is designed to work is you would use your main channels for all of your instruments while you're tracking, and you're sending those to the tape machine using either the direct outs with the direct switch, of course, or you're sending them to different buses and then out to a tape machine. And of course you can subgroup multiple things to one subgroup to send to one track on a tape machine or a channel on your interface and combine multiple things that way. Then you've got the tape returns. So you would have these tape returns here with their own level and pan control so that you could monitor the tracks that were already recorded on tape, potentially while you're tracking new things through the main channels. Or you could set it up where you're tracking everything through here and you're listening to these things, depending on how you have this set up. So this console was basically designed to be used with an 8-track tape machine. In the manual it actually talks about the TAC 88. You would have set your tracks to tape with these main 8 channels, and then your tape tracks would have been coming back over here to these tape return tracks above the subgroups. And of course you've got Q sends for each of the tape tracks, and then you've got Q sends from the main channel. So you could set up your mix when you're doing overdubs, listening from here, sending different amounts of these signals coming back from tape out to the tape Q send or a headphone mix for the musician, and then combine the channel with what they're tracking here and send a bit of it to their headphones as well. It was actually a very flexible and very high quality mixer for its time. This one obviously only needed a couple things. It really still needs one thing. I mean, this fader is still nice and smooth, but it's broken off, so I've got to find a new fader since the actual shaft here is broken. And that's it. And then I put a new knob here. It was missing the headphone knob, and since the control room knob, you're going to use that a lot, I used just a different knob that I had and put that here, moved the original control room knob up here to headphones. To demonstrate the console here for this video, I've connected the outputs of my Fostex R8 8-track analog recorder there to the tape inputs on the Tascam M-35 so that we can mix the tracks from tape back through the console, and I'm going to capture it over here on the little Surface Pro tablet with an Audient Evo 4. The Tascam M-35 is a really cool vintage modular studio mixer. I think the thing's really cool. It's built like a tank. It's really heavy duty. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the M-35 yet. I just collect stuff like this because I want to show it to you guys on the channel, and things tend to come my way for some reason. I'm just one of those people. I end up with like 5, 6, 7 mixers around. I don't know why that happens to me. I really appreciate all of you watching the videos. Make sure to check back on the channel because I'm going to clean up the Tascam M-35 and actually run some signals and things through it so you can hear what it sounds like in future videos. So make sure you subscribe if you've not done so already, as well as liking this video. Leave a comment if you'd like to see more videos about the Tascam M-35, as well as checking out the links in the video description for ways to help support this channel and other videos that relate to this video. I appreciate everyone watching. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everyone out there who watches my videos. I hope that you all have an excellent and wonderful day, night, evening, weekend, weekday, hour, minute, second, nanosecond, whatever it is you're having. Have a good one. Thanks so much for watching.